Yeah, here, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I would say put your hand up if you're not there, but it might be difficult. Okay, so I'll continue on to agenda item 4, conclusions and recommendations. I'm going to pass on to Lucy. We're going to go them through stage by stage, like we did in the meeting, from all the comments made in the meeting. I've been asked by officers that if we do make recommendations, that if there is any proposals from moving budgets from either other departments or other parts of communities, if you have any ideas, could you include them into your recommendations? Obviously, it's not a mandatory requirement, but any suggestions would be very useful for Cabinet and Treasury. Okay, so on that point, I'll pass on to Lucy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So there were some key themes gone through today, which I'll go through and then come back to members on each one to see if they have any recommendations. So the first one, discussion around working with town community councils, an opportunity for them to do more services, if the members have any recommendations there.
Councillors, any? Yeah, Councillor Martin Williams.
Yeah, that was my hobby horse, wasn't it? So I need to come up with a recommendation, I guess. I mean, I think the recommendation is, I don't think they're doing enough. I think there's a lot of talk about we should do more, and I think we just need to see some actions for those words. What that looks like, I'm not quite sure, but we need to have an action plan for proper engagement with community council, town and community councils, and other third parties for that matter. So I'd like to see Janine or whoever come back. And I'm, I know the deputy leader said it was a corporate thing, but I'd like to see someone, I think the communities director, come back in perhaps 6 months with a plan about this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. I got Councillor Clark.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would agree with Councillor Williams regarding contact with town and community councils. I think there needs to be an understanding that town and community councils need to be, accessed long before the end of this year, December. I don't mean the financial year, because obviously town and community councils are setting their precept. And if BCBC turn around now and say, oh, can you, give some, say £10,000 for this particular thing, then town and community councils are going to turn around and say, well, no, we've already set our precept. We haven't got that funding. Everything has been budgeted for, etc. So town and community councils need to be notified early on. And I would suggest, basically straight away for not 23-24, but for 24-25. The negotiations need to start now, to be quite honest. But of course, a lot of residents will think that it's double taxation, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand your point, Councillor Clark. Okay, I'll move on to Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree. I think we should actually be working in collaboration with our town and community councils. However, we do have platforms, i.e. the Town and Community Council Forum. So let's utilise the platforms that we do have, perhaps more efficiently and effectively, and possibly look at actually bringing those forums to fruition more often.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Evans. I'll bring in Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with both Councillor Clark and Councillor Evans on this. We do need more communication with the town and community councils to let them know what's happening. They get enough on their plate as it is now, a lot of them. That's about it, Chair. Just agreeing.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kern. Councillor Jenkins.
Yes, thank you. Concur with Councillor Kern and the other two councillors as well. And I think the councillor mentioned the Town and Community Council Forum. Having sat on that myself for over 20 odd years, it is a Town and Community Council forum. They take no notice of things that we bring forward, and when they ask for things that go on the agenda, they very rarely put on it. But we do need now, as Councillor Clark said as well, more concrete interaction and to move about ideas. I specifically sent an idea to the cabinet minister, cabinet member for communities, etc., with engagement with town and community councils, but he poo-hooed that out of hand. So I probably didn't even get any further than that. And we find that our correspondence with Bridgend County Borough Council is actually getting worse. The length of time you're waiting for replies to requests and various things is terrible. So it's not lending itself, BCBC. Whilst they may think it is, they are not lending themselves to more active cooperation with us. We realise the outcomes that Town and Community Council will, if they're still in existence, because within Wales at the moment, a Town and Community Council can be disbanded, you know, under legislation. I'm digressing a bit, yeah, but I just want to say that is a good, valid point that the previous councillors have brought up, and we need to sit down and talk earlier.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jenkins. I've got Councillor Clark coming back in.
Yes, if I could just quickly, sorry, Chair. I would agree with Councillor Melanie Evans regarding that the Town and Community Forum is the place for this to be discussed. But having sat on the Town and Community Forum for a number of years, it basically, I just see it as a talking shop, and nothing goes anywhere. It never has, and hopefully in the future it will. But I mean, I've brought the Town and Community Councils up with the Chief Exec on many occasions, saying it's just a total waste of time. So hopefully going forward, things will happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Williams?
Yeah, just to come back in quickly, I agree with everyone there. We don't want to tie the hands of the cabinet, you know, and the officers, but I would like to see a bit, almost like a relationship manager, that the role that Guy Smith has been expanded, and why can't an officer sit down with each of the town and community councils between May and, you know, between April and May, for example, and say, what are you good at? What would you like to do? What do you not want to do? What can you offer us? And, you know, build a plan from there. But I mean, it's really for them to come back and propose something. But I mean, that's the sort of thing I'd like to see.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. I think if I'm reading the room correctly, I think if we look at BCBC's one council policy, we would be right in thinking that if we expand that policy into town and community councils, so more like a one community policy, would that be an accurate assessment of what councillors have said? I'm not getting any, no, you've got it wrong. Councillor Evans.
Chair, yeah, sorry. I agree that town and community councils are part of it. However, you know, one council extends further on this occasion to organisations that we pay to be part of, and also partners as well. So it's not just about town and community councils and the community council working together. It's about the whole ethos of one council. And in order to be successful in anything, you know, we have to work and utilise the skills in the appropriate areas.
Okay, no, that's good. So have we got a formalised recommendation there? Yeah, so can we have a repeat of what the formalised recommendation was?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so as I said, Lucy is drafting as quickly as we can. And as I said, all these recommendations will go out to the committee members for amendment. But just in summary, as I said, there's a recommendation there in terms of an action plan to come back in 6 months. I was going to check, actually, whether you'd rather it come back to such thing scrutiny, or whether you would like this to be taken up in terms of the forum. As I said, I work closely with Mark Galvin on the forum, and we are looking to try and develop it as much as we can. So I was wondering whether actually you'd rather something like the action plan go to the forum to try and develop that forum a bit more. And as Councillor Williams has said, kind of to get the likes of Guy Smith in and to talk through that action plan and to explain exactly how we were taking, how they're taking this work forward further than the CAT's work that is being undertaken. So which forum would you rather this be taken forward, please?
Okay, I've got Councillor Williams.
Yeah, my only concern is if as a committee, and I think I don't want to speak for other people, that we think that the forum is currently a bit toothless. It might not be the right place to influence, and there may be more influence here, sadly. But I get the question why.
Okay, Councillor Bledsoe.
I actually agree with the spirit of what Rachel's saying there, actually, but I acknowledge the concerns that Councillor Martin Williams has over the effectiveness of doing so. I think at one time, I think most people in this committee have been probably a town and community councillor who's taken part in that forum from a town and community councillor's point of view and felt the frustrations. And I'm wondering whether there's a way of, looking at our remit, looking at why we are making this recommendation. We're looking at a recommendation here that could say that better, more productive working through that forum could help relieve the budgetary pressures that this authority is currently under. And whilst ever we can't look backwards, we could look forward, and that we do make the recommendation that that forum is not viewed in that way through actions, but we, as a scrutiny committee who are looking at our budgetary pressures, that we're saying that we believe that forum could work more effectively to release these budget pressures and more effectively for the residents of the communities that the council serve.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bledsoe. Councillor Clark.
Yes, I would agree with Councillor Bledsoe on everything he said. But I think you do find that some councillors that sit on the Town and Community Forum, will go there, but they won't report back. I think there needs to be an understanding that the representatives from the town and community councils that sit on the forum actually go back to their town and community councils, and put it on the agenda so that it's, so that everyone, because it's communication, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to is communication. And it's no good just sitting in a meeting and nodding and saying yes or no, or I'm not happy. It's got to get back to the town and community councils, and that is through the representative that is sitting on that forum.
Agreed. With Councillor Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I don't know whether I need to, but I think I might need to declare an interest because I do sit on that forum, to be fair. So I don't know whether I need to, but I would like a personal interest on that.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Chair. I just have to come back in on this one. I was just going to say, just in terms of reassuring the likes of Councillor Williams in terms of the concerns over the forum, what I was going to say is if this is a recommendation coming from the Scrutiny Committee that the forum consider this and we can expand on the recommendation, you then will monitor that recommendation. So it almost is, it's forcing that through then to the forum. So it does hold strength in that scenario then. And in terms of actually communication, as I said, we can also look to really start to involve the clerks a lot more. As I said, we haven't had a clerks meeting, but certainly in terms of the forum, the clerks obviously can come and view, but we can communicate any findings, for example, or any conclusions from the forum and make sure the clerks receive them. So maybe that they can kind of encourage this to go on agendas for the town and community councils so that, as you said, Councillor Clark, it can be reported back. Maybe we can assist with that.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Councillor Clark, still have your hand up. Is that a legacy hand or?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Councillor Clark. Okay, so we should move on to the next.
Thank you, Chair. So there was a lot of conversations around enforcement. If members would like to make any comments or recommendations there.
So this will be the waste enforcement.
Yes, sorry, Chair. Yes, the waste enforcement team.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Councillor Jenkins.
This was a reference, obviously, to the reduction in the waste enforcement, isn't it?
Yes.
Am I correct? Yeah. Well, I believe I would recommend strongly that the Cabinet look at this again, because it will basically be a false economy in the long run, I believe, and cost the authority more. And as was stated by previous councillors, it will cause misery to a lot of people, particularly if you get dumping outside of premises etc., elderly, various and unsightly. We're encouraged to keep our communities clean, free of rubbish and dirt. We do our litter pickings by community groups. And I think Bridgend County Borough needs to actually still keep an enforcement officer and be more enforceable rather than and be more proactive than reactive.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Chair, again. This is a non-statutory service, and actually, you know, it's very difficult to make decisions when you haven't really been given really all the facts with regards to there's been no prosecutions, there have been no basically warnings issued or anything, so enforcement hasn't been used. But the one recommendation that we possibly could look at is that if we contribute to any third party, partner or organisation for being part of it. So, for example, you know, we are being told that obviously these are being used to educate society. However, we have volunteers that educate society. You know, our volunteers are actually upskilled by Keep Wales Tidy, and therefore shouldn't it be their responsibility? So from my perspective is this: if we do contribute to a third party, partner organisation for being part of that organisation, and they have experts in a particular field, why not utilise them and not another agency or use agency workers? That would actually cut costs. So, you know, I think we need to, and that's my whole point around, are we utilising our partners and organisations to their best of their ability? We need to build on that expertise. I know that might be a bit controversial, but I really believe that these are unprecedented times.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Evans. We'll go to Councillor Bledsoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pressing all the wrong buttons at all the wrong times. A bit Les Dawson of me then. Les Dennis, not even close. And I don't know whether the recommendation here is purely about the enforcement tickets, as Councillor Evans raised during the meeting, or about the proposal to cut the budget totally. I don't know whether we could just, because I have one point, but it's more about the proposal to cut the budget rather than specifically around the number of tickets issued.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Rachel, do you want to come in?
I think if we take all comments on this, and then the committee can kind of form a view, and we can put all opinions forward then, and the drafts.
In relation to enforcement then as the wider, and I would support Councillor Evans's view on, you know, it has been raised in numerous meetings I've been in about the lack of enforcement, and you know, we have come to the party late with Wild Mill in my ward, and we've seen very clearly Zach Shell give us, you know, 3% savings on recycling. That equates to £100,000. We can see what action in enforcement and education can do, and the fact that we haven't issued any fines up until this point is a concern. You know, from my point of view, I would certainly like this this committee to put forward a recommendation that this proposal for budget cuts is scrapped, given the information that we've been told during this scrutiny meeting, and you know, the amount of hand wringing that was going on, and we don't want to do this, we have to do this, there's no other option. We have to, I believe, in my opinion, as a scrutiny committee, on the basis of what we've been told, put a recommendation forward that this proposal is scrapped. In relation to how we fund it, which was a, you know, which was a request there about putting forward proposals, I'd love to put a proposal forward on what else could be done, but we're not given the information. You know, I don't have a budget in front of me where I can say save £200,000 from there. The easy option for me to say as a member of this committee is take it from the £101 million reserves, but that's the easy option, and that's not right. But I don't have any other information in front of me to offer another alternative, because the proposal is cut £200,000, potentially have to pay £300,000 to mitigate the outcome of that cut. We have to look at options, but I don't have the information in front of me to make that proposal. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no, I understand, Councillor Bett. So, funnily enough, we were discussing this in the break, that it's we're being asked two things: to scrutinise the budget, and if we do want to amend something, to find a solution to that amendment. It is difficult without the resources of Cabinet, but that is what we're being asked to do. We don't have to come up with an alternative, though they are being asked of us. I personally support your view. I do think this will end up costing us more than what we'll save. But I'll move to Councillor Evans. You're on mute, Councillor Evans. She knows.
Hang on. Right, okay. Yeah, sorry, I was having problems unmuting my mic there.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I fully get where you're coming from and can understand the concerns around it, but I'm not convinced without the relevant data that we are using our partners and organisations to the best of their ability. You know, as I said, you know, from my perspective with regards to fly tipping, from my understanding, and no one corrected me wrongly, was a criminal offence. So there are different parties and organisations that can actually get involved. So, you know, I think we need to maximise those. And also, I am quite challenged around the fact I would also like to see the public's perception on what services they think we should be looking at. So from a recommendation from my perspective would also be, I would like to understand and to scrutinise the public's reaction to the budget consultation that closed yesterday.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Evans. I've just done a quick Google search. Turns out fly tipping is a criminal offence, so it would be something that you know, if it goes, it is a criminal matter. I have got Councillor Walter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not in the best of health, so I've try and keep my voice going. I would support what Councillor Bledsoe said in terms of a recommendation that this proposed cut is scrapped. I don't think we've been asked to come up with an alternative. I don't think we have to.
Mm-hmm. No. I'd agree. I wonder whether, I mean, at the moment, enforcement teams giving a lot of carrot, shall we say, as opposed to stick. But I mean, would the committee agree that maybe if we retain this budget, that we the department looks more at enforcement rather than education? Would that be something favourable from the committee? So, I'm just coming up with solutions.
Certainly would from me, Chair, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Councillor Walter. I've got Councillor Bledsoe.
I fully support that, Mr. Chair, but I reiterate my previous point. With more information, we can provide better solutions. You know. Yeah.
I agree, Councillor Bledsoe, but we are where we are, unfortunately, and this is our scheduled meeting, so we'll do with what we can. I did have Councillor Jenkins' hand up, but that seems to have gone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I briefly, I know we're giving this a bit of an air in there, but it's really about cutting the budget for it and removing it. I take on board Melanie's, Councillor Griffiths' views, and she is right, and as you stated. But let's be realistic. Are the police going to take on anything? Are they going to take on any investigative powers? Do you ring them up and say, look, there's 2 lorry loads of rubbish dumped in a lane in a beautiful countryside, it's Langanoid here in my stake, on the area in the valleys? No, they're not interested in anything at all, between their services being stretched to the limit, etc. I can't see that happening, partnering on education. I agree, but that's from a young point of view. And if we bring them people up, as they should be brought up, and ourselves, then we as ordinary people, small, or the vast majority of us, don't fly tip. We're talking about commercial enterprises, those crooks and those people who will get rid of a trailer load of their household waste and things like that under the cover of darkness and dump it you there anywhere, as long as it's not on their back garden. So I would agree that, or I will propose that we retain this budget and look at future, obviously, at alternatives. But how will the public And without the information, as Councillor Griffiths said, it's hard to perceive. How would they perceive that? If you go around and tell them, the next thing my person said, look at that road of rubbish by there now, and we haven't even got an enforcement officer.
Yeah. Okay, thank you,
Right.
Councillor Jenkins. Rachel?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say, based on what the conversation's been, my feeling is there's a bit of a recommendation here which can be combined. So it's combining really what Councillor Evans has said with Councillor Williams and Councillor Walter. So in a way, I'm proposing the recommendation is along the lines of the committee supports education in terms of this budget and supports, but would look towards would look towards partner organisations to assist with this rather than relying on our own staff, and that our own staff maybe look towards more enforcement. And that's behind then, obviously, the recommendation that you don't want to make this cut. Am I right in my understanding, please?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you've captured it there. It is 4 minutes to 7, councillors, so we are moving quite late into the evening. If we want to move on, if I could ask any comments, try and keep them as short as possible.
Sorry, Chair, thank you. So possible other services which could bring in income generation, whether there was any recommendations there.
So so revenue services, opportunities for the council. Does anyone want to make any recommendations there? Comments? No? Okay. Oh, hang on. No, I've got Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark?
Yeah, I find I'm talking to myself. I think Janine just mentioned, didn't she, that if there was opportunities, they were forever looking for them. So apart from cats and I may be talking about the wrong thing now, in the city deal, about developing more delivery models. I suppose really it comes under that, but I guess they're looking all the time. But if there isn't, there isn't.
Yeah, I think it can be difficult for a local authority to be revenue generating. So in some local authorities have tried this and failed spectacularly. Some have been quite successful. So I think as Janine has said, they are constantly looking for other options. So I think they'll probably note that, because they'll probably consider that they're doing it anyway, unless anyone from the committee disagrees. I've got Councillor Jenkins.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I did mention here generating incomes, etc. And I've also written to the Education Department. It is basically regarding all the properties that Bridgend County Borough own as corporate landlords, I would imagine, such as all our schools, although it comes under directives. We are not using the technology that's been available to us for many years and getting better and even cheaper now, such as solar and wind power, right? The vast majority of our schools have large roof spaces that can benefit from direct daylight. They operate for only probably 3 months a year if you take into all the holidays, etc. The energy could be saved by generating electricity from solar panels and small mini wind turbines. Could be a tremendous value. Nobody has undertaken a study at all, as far as I know, in what could be generated, saving vastly generating to the county borough, not only on its energy bills, etc., but to the environment, right? And these schools have vast spaces. And I give an example. I raised it 20 years ago, practically, when they were building a comprehensive school here in my stay under design. At that time, they did solar heating, glass in it. The school has a vast area of glass, and not one of them panels is capable of holding and heating heat, particularly for the winter months and the darker months. So what I want to raise is there is opportunity to get capital revenue, although it will be investment, and maybe Welsh Government would help in that because it's helping towards our net zero carbon emissions. And I think we should be progressing something like that. We have a river that runs through our valley, mind, and hydropower would be a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. I've just been informed by Rachel here that they are investigating these sort of things as part of net zero. So if we want to make a recommendation on it, it's there. But I think they are already doing the work that you are suggesting. Just we don't know the details of it yet. I would advise. So we move on to number 4, which is the RNLI.
Thank you, Chair. So there was lots of discussion over the RNLI reduction. Would any of the members like to make any comments or recommendations in relation to this?
Yeah, Councillor Clark.
Well, obviously, we wouldn't want to see a reduction in this service. I've got to be honest, I was alarmed when Janine did say that there would be a reduction in Resbay, being that Resbay is the most dangerous beach in Porthcawl and possibly the most dangerous along the South Wales coast. I think Councillor Evans did mention about paddleboarding, etc. It's becoming very, very popular. And, you know, with rip currents, etc., especially at Resbay, it becomes very, very dangerous. So I certainly wouldn't want to see a reduction there. Again, we've got a blue flag at Resbay. You know, if there was a reduction, then perhaps that could, you know, would be possibly looked at and would affect the blue flag status. You know, Bridgend has built a water sports centre at Resbay, which is now bringing in, you know, floods and floods of visitors for surfing, etc., etc. And to even contemplate cutting a service that saved lives at sea, well, is basically beyond me. If we're looking at ways of bringing in more revenue, then we've got, I don't know how many town and community councils within the county borough. They could be approached even if they only paid £1,000 each towards the facility. That would help greatly. You know, people from Porthcawl aren't the only ones that use the beach. They come from everywhere within the county borough and of course further afield. But you know, it can't just be a responsibility of Porthcawl Town Council. It's got to be the responsibility of everyone, you know, every town and community council within the county borough. So that's a way of raising funding, and those town and community councils should be approached to put money in the pot.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. I've got Councillor Bledsoe.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to remember back to the meeting itself, because I mean, I made my point about the golf and all that, and you know, that money's not going to replace it. I seem to recall Councillor Martin Williams bringing up the money that was used for the biodiversity as being one that could perhaps be used. So I can see Councillor Williams got his hand up now. I don't know if I'm stepping on his toes or not. I think I'll take a step back if he's got his hand up. I'm not going to speak for him.
Okay, do you want me to ask Councillor Williams whether that is the point he wants to make, or Councillor Williams, is this the point you want to make? Otherwise, I'll come to you.
It might be. It might be. Let's progress my point, and if I'm wrong, Steve can tell me no. Look, what's the saving here? Was it 32,000, something like that? There's a clear, you know, there's a clear benefit. Or no, let's turn it around. There is a clear risk that if we defund the RNLI, lives will be lost. It's as simple as that. It is clear, and it is present, and it is now. We're, Janine said, going to pay Kia £35,000 to fund their biodiesel, which isn't going to bring an immediate budget, an immediate benefit, if a benefit at all. It's not going to contribute to our 2030 net zero because, sorry, I'm walking. It's not going to contribute to 2030 net zero because Kia will be long gone by then. We haven't got the whole budget to look at, but these are two very similar numbers. We've got one which is maybe, might have, could possibly have an impact in the future. Or there's another saving, RNLI, which will have an impact now, no brainer. scrap the care payment, fund the RNLI with it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. I've got Councillor Jenkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I got to concur with the idea that Councillor Clark put in. The whole of the county benefits and further afield from this spectacular beach, its views, and of course its dangerous water currents. But to withdraw funding from such a dangerous area, although a beauty spot and well used, I think would be a drastic mistake. And therefore, perhaps a good idea, as you noted, would be to approach town and community councillors to see there are 17 of them, I believe. I'm not saying that they all can afford X amount, but any money is going towards would reduce that reduction. And I think that would be a prudent idea, is to ask, because as I said, and as Councillor Clark did mention, we all use that area sometime or other during the year. Some of us several, even dozens of times, because of its nature, its beauty spot. And of course, Porthcawl is a jewel in our crown. I shouldn't say that as a valley boy, but it is the jewel in the crown as such for a coastal town. Fantastic, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. I'm always of the opinion that there are several crowns in our borough council. I'll move to Councillor Walter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Some members may be aware that it was a recommendation on this subject. I think it was at COSC that this proposed cut be removed, rejected. Excuse me. And at that meeting, if my memory works properly, it was suggested that town and community councils should be approached. So I think it's more powerful coming from two committees than one. So the first part of what I want to say is that I think we should recommend to reject this this cut. But I disagree slightly with Councillor Martin Williams, as much as I don't think we should link it to the biodiesel fuel potential saving. Not that that's not important, I accept that it is, but I think it'd be more powerful if it's just a single statement of rejection. And once again, I apologise that I'm not fully fit, as it were. Thanks, Chair.
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Walter. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, again. Obviously, yeah, you know, we have to make these very, very difficult decisions, and they may be unpopular, but for me, we're discussing the two L's, lives and litter. If there was a choice, I know what my preference would lead towards. You know, I really wish, and it's all about behaviour, I really wish that the public and well, people wouldn't drop litter in the first place, and in that way we wouldn't have to make these decisions. But for me, we are dealing with lives and litter, and my preference, I know where I'd go. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Kern.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of cuts down there at all. I use Respi a lot, and yeah, it would worry me a lot if there was no safety of any type down there. So I'm not happy with that at all, that cut. That's about it, really. And it's a good idea, mind you, approaching the town and community councils to support it, because I mean, I only live 5 miles away from Porthcawl, and I know a lot of my constituents go to Porthcawl on a regular basis. There's a lot of guys that I know surf down that way, and no, I'm not happy with it at all, I must be honest. That's about it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kern. I've got Councillor Bledsoe.
Thank you, Chair. And I do think we are going to struggle with the, you know, I've obviously listened to what Councillor Williams has said. It's a difficult thing to propose, but if we are going to propose something, then perhaps we should propose something. And I fully agree with Councillor Evans. It is lives and litter. However, I would say it's not one or the other. It could be both. You know, we can say as a committee we do not agree with either of these, because it isn't about the physical, you know, the one is about saving lives and the risk to life if we do cut it. The other isn't about seeing the streets covered in litter. It's about the cost implications to this authority if we make that cut. It was laid out very simply to us tonight. If we save £200,000, we could immediately be looking at a cost increase of £300,000. So it doesn't have to be either or. I think we can make a case for both, very different cases. But as a committee doing our job to look at this specific element of the MTFS, I think we can move forward with 2 recommendations that neither of these budget cuts are taken forward. And over to you guys. You know, you have the information we don't have. Find that money from somewhere. Do your job. Do it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bett. So I've got Councillor Clark.
Yes, I just wanted to say, Chair, that obviously Janine said that they were considering reducing the lifeguard cover at West Bay, not literally taking it away. That's how that's how I took it anyway. That they'd be reducing it rather than taking it all away. But like I said before, you know, what price do you place on a child's life or anybody's life when it comes to that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Clark. Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I'm just clarifying now just a few points on this one, because there has been a proposal. Obviously, the overall recommendation, it seems, is to reject the recommendation. To reject the reduction. However, there's been a proposal to look at that possible 35,000 from Kia. And I was just looking at, and also the Town and Community Councils. Now, as Councillor Walter said, the Town and Community Councils one has been said, and we can state that as well. You have an option to put a split view completely as a committee. You can put a split view on this, but I'm just wondering, is there support for this to look towards possibly the 35,000 paying Kia as an alternative to this budget reduction, please?
Okay, I've got Councillor Bledsoe.
Sorry to be really boring. I've just had a message from Councillor Martin Williams. He's boarded his plane. He'll no longer be able to take part in the meeting.
Okay, no worries, Councillor Bledsoe. Councillor Clark, is that a legacy hand?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, has anyone got any views on what Rachel has said about whether we do want to cut the £35,000 from Kia, or do we want to maintain it? If I got that right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just wondering whether the committee have a view on it in terms of whether to support Councillor Williams' views. We can put it as an alternative option to consider, and you can add that to the recommendation, but obviously it's entirely up to the committee.
Councillor Bledsoe?
For me personally, I'd like to separate the 2 recommendations because I don't want them to be linked. I don't want to say to them, save the RNLI saving if you can stop paying Kia. I would like the 2 recommendations to be wholly separate, so that we don't nobble one of them by non-adherence to the other. So I would like the recommendation to be save the RNLI cut alongside the enforcement cut. Have you considered not paying that money for the biodiesel, which could help towards both?
No, okay. Rachel's nodding and thumbs up. So I think we're there for a recommendation then. Okay, thank you. As an additional one. Okay, thank you, councillors. I think where are we now? On to our last one, is it?
Yes, sorry,
Yes.
Chair. So the only other thing was information regarding reserves, which we'll follow up and get out to members after the meeting.
Okay, brilliant. I've got sorry, go on, Rachel.
Was there, just wondered on that, was there anything else regarding reserves that was just members wanted?
Okay, so is there any other information that councillors want regarding reserves? I've got Councillor Walter waiting, so I'll bring him in while the committee's thinking.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I raised my hand after Councillor Bledsoe's suggestion about putting I think if I heard it rightly, a separate recommendation concerning the biodiesel. I don't agree with that. So if there is a recommendation, it either won't be unanimous or perhaps we should have a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair's invited me to it's entirely up to the committee. We can do a vote on this recommendation, or we can put a split view. It's entirely up to the committee, really.
Is there anyone that would insist on a vote, or would they be happy that the committee is split on its view on this one? Councillor Walter.
I'd be happy with a split view, Chair.
Okay,
I'd agree with Councillor Walter, Chair. Happy with the split.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bletcher. I've got Councillor Jenkins waiting, and then I'll come to you, Councillor Kern, if that's okay.
Yeah,
No?
that's okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Chair. What are we on now? Are we still on the last subject, or have you moved on? Sorry.
Yes, well, we're sort of mixed between the two. So we're on the last one, and we're looking at reserves.
Oh, I'll reserve my observations for the next question then, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Jenkins. Councillor Kern?
Yeah, I was just going to agree for the split.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Councillor Kern. Okay, I think we've got consensus on the on the split view recommendation. And so it was. Does anyone have any more wanting any more information regarding reserves or recommendations?
Yes, Chair. Can I come in?
Yes, of course, Councillor Jenkins.
Yeah, well, we'll elaborate. Obviously, I'm not a financial mind. I'm not, but I would like this council to recommend that the that the council go back and review its reserves, apart from all of its essential reserves it has, because I'm looking at the audit sheet and it clearly states that that unallocated and unreserved reserves were 9.8 million, whilst not a lot out of the 101 that is there now at the moment. Still 9 million that wasn't used or unallocated, but unallocated and capable of being used and yet not used. So I think we can or should prudently look at the level of reserves we actually need, given that the 22 authorities, obviously some are small, some only got 30 million in reserves. I mean, okay, I took the point on board that the deputy leader mentioned, etc. But at the end of the day, I have to answer to the public who are telling me, why have we got all this money if they got millions in reserves? Why isn't it all being used not to just reduce the council tax? They're not saying that. What they're saying is to restore services that we know are going to be cut year on year on year till they'd be negligible, and yet we'll still have a pot of 100 million in reserves. Doesn't make sense. So I would like this committee to possibly, along with the officers, to word something that they review all of their reserves, and those that they haven't spent over initially or historically over years. I'll find they have 500,000 or 1.3 million a year left from this one and that one, that they use them prudently.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jenkins. I think we've got the gist of where you're going. I've got Councillor.
Well, I've lost it myself, but
no worries, Councillor Jenkins. Councillor Bletsoe.
Yes, Chair, and I'd broadly like to agree with Councillor Jenkins on that. I would like a review of what our reserves are, because it's almost like it's a landmark figure, isn't it? Reserves it in hitting over 101 million pounds, and then we have to ask the question what reserves actually are and what they're there for. It's not a savings account. It's not a target. It's there to use on a rainy day, we're told. And the question does need to be asked that if spending £200,000 saves us £100,000, is that a prudent use of reserves? I don't get access to that. I'm not in the cabinet. And when the issue of reserves has been brought up in the past, we're told, once it's spent, it's spent. But when it's not spent, it could be worth more. And when do you fix the roof? Because it's raining out there, and 6% increase is below inflation, but it's going to be very difficult for our residents to afford, alongside cutting more services. So I would support Councillor Jenkins in that we ask a review of how we manage and how we operate our reserve pot, please.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bledsoe. I've got Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there's one thing that I would like to propose is going forward, the scrutiny committees be given all performance measures in order to scrutinise and make more sound, informed decisions. Because I do believe that we haven't had the results from the public consultation. We didn't know how many enforcement, how many penalties were issued. So, you know, in order to make sound, effective, important decisions, we need to have all performance measures in front of us to scrutinise more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Evans. I would have to agree, especially on the timing of the of our committee meetings for the MSFT. I mean, they've closed their consultation yesterday. We haven't had the chance to look at it, neither has Cabinet, I would imagine. So yes, it is difficult to make representations with not seeing hard data from the public. So I think if we got a recommendation for reviewing the council reserves and a request that that at future scrutiny committee meetings that we are given performance targets and sorry, Councillor Evans, what was the last one? The performance review and information on consultation. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, no worries. Is everyone happy with that? Anyone disagree? No. Okay, I think we're happy. Okay, is that the last one? Okay, so we're on to item number 5, urgent items. I don't believe I have any. Nothing's come to no. Okay, so in that case, I will close this meeting at 19:21. Thank you very much.
Fantastic job, Mr. Chair. Well deputised.
Thank you all.